Over the years, I've built a pretty aesthetic back, and the truth is, it's much simpler than you may think. You don't need endless exercises or to spend hours in the gym. At least that's not what I did. As a calisthenics athlete, my base has always been pull-ups, and with just a few tweaks and variations, you can target the entire back. Wide lats, bulging traps, and the thickness to go along with it. In this video, I'll show you my exact approach. What exercises you'll need, how often you should train, and how to progress. So let's get into it. Overall, you'll have 2 workouts per week. One focused on pull-ups and another day focused on variations and supporting exercises. And if you're not yet able to perform pull-ups, don't worry, as all of it can be scaled with the resistance band. Now, before we jump into the exercises, I quickly want to talk about what actually makes a back aesthetic so we know what we want to target. Definitely the most important is the V-taper, and this comes from growing the raw size of your lats, which increases your width and gives the illusion of a narrow waist. And there are some genetics at play here when it comes to lat insertions, but growing them in any case will always create an aesthetic outline. So that's our priority number 1. Next we have the upper back and especially the upper traps to make the torso look upright and powerful. Without this, the back can, in my opinion, look a little flat even if your lats are big, so also very important. Then to tie it together, we also want some thickness in the mid-back for a 3-dimensional look, and to finish it off, some lower back detail. A very underrated part of the back and also just very important for other calisthenics movements. So now that it's divided into sections, I'll show you how I target each and then how I structure those exercises into workouts. For V-taper, you can't beat regular pull-ups. Slightly wider than shoulder width, chest up, chin over the bar, just standard pull-ups. And of course, only full range of motion. We want the stretch in the bottom and the contraction at the top. So if you can't do that, this is where you add a band. For this part, the most important thing is training close to failure. So as you get stronger, you'll need to gradually add reps or add weight to keep it challenging. I've done both and you can't really pick wrong, it's just a preference. If you choose reps, you can pretty much go all out for 3 or 4 sets or simply until you can't continue. If you choose weights, you can aim for somewhere between 5 to 8 reps while just avoiding complete failure. I won't overcomplicate this further with fancy variations because with just a few sets of pull-ups we have the lats covered. But I will say that in some cases you may have trouble feeling your lats, and for that I've made a separate video. Now, as a bonus, regular pull-ups also target the lower traps very effectively. That's really the 2 standout muscles of any pull-up enjoyer, layering lats and deep separated lower traps. However, that still leaves a few things out, and there's also another issue. Because while pull-ups target the most important aspect of your back, they're also highly fatiguing, so you can't keep pushing them every single workout. If you do, you'll end up regressing and your back will also be incomplete. Ideally, we want some different exercises both to offload the stress, but also to hit the remaining muscles still missing for complete development. If pull-ups are known to target the lats and lower traps, then how come my upper traps are so developed? Well, the answer is actually still pull-ups, but with some adjustments. It's super simple and relies on 2 principles. First, the wider your grip, the more activation comes from your upper traps. That's because your shoulder blades naturally get elevated. So the first adjustment is to go as wide as possible, but still no wider than 90 degrees at the top. Now the second principle is the real difference maker. You see, in pull-ups, your upper traps are most engaged in the top range, but we usually don't stay at the top for long. However, by adding just a slight pause, we can shift the emphasis. You can almost see how they automatically work harder to maintain the position. Even just adding a pause in the middle of the rep still forces your traps to work harder and stabilize the shoulder blades. So this gives us some very useful variations. 1, the top pause pull-up, 2, the mid pause pull-up, and 3, a combination of the 2, the double pause pull-up. And what's so clever about these variations is not just the back activation. You'll need significantly fewer reps with the same body weight or much less added weight to approach failure, resulting in less fatigue. That's a big win because if used as a supporting exercise, it balances out the high stress from regular pull-ups. But of course, if you're a beginner, they can be difficult, so remember to use a band if needed. For upper traps, that's really it. No other exercises are needed, and a simple approach is often a sustainable approach. The thickness of the mid-back usually comes from horizontal pulling, different kind of rows. And you can still do that if you have the option and prefer to do so. But again, we don't actually have to stray away from the pull-up if we make some adjustments. What we're looking for is a deeper squeeze and, similar to rows, to drive the elbows backwards. And this gives us two options. The first is Geronda pull-ups. This is basically a hybrid between a pull-up and a row. Instead of moving straight up, you actively lean back and let your lower chest move towards the bar. This allows your arms to travel further back and squeeze the shoulder blades, exactly what forces the mid-back to activate. But a problem is that these are very demanding, and they can also be tricky to use a band with. If they don't seem to work for you, you can instead try option 2, which is ring pull-ups. Here, there's no bar to stop you in your path, your chest can rise higher, you can continue squeezing, and since your hands aren't locked in place, you have more control over your elbows to guide the activation. Plus, given the instability, all the muscles around the shoulder blades need to work harder and constantly stabilize. For both these options, aim for controlled reps with a deep squeeze. Again, you'll need fewer reps or significantly less added weight to approach failure, ultimately reducing the impact on your nervous system. Okay, now it gets a little tricky, because the lower back is involved in almost every pull-up variation, but not to a very high degree. The main exceptions are L-sit and typewriter pull-ups, but even then it's still secondary. And using these variations will add fatigue that takes away from your other exercises. Still, lower back detail is so important that we can't just ignore it either. So here's the truth. From a visual point of view, the biggest difference isn't any exercise, but body fat percentage. It really takes a pretty low number for these muscles to stand out. And I'm not saying you need to lose weight, but if you want a dug-out Christmas tree, you'll probably have to. With that said, training the lower back is still valuable for calisthenics and I do recommend it. But this is one part where pull-ups may not be enough. I personally really like Superman races, front lever progressions, and I've even done RDLs in periods. Now that we have the exercises, let's put it together into a system of 2 training days per week. Day 1 is minimalistic and all about high intensity pull-ups. As mentioned, for body weight, as many reps as possible, and for weights, between 5 to 8 reps is good. And in both cases, the number of sets kind of depends on how much your body can handle, but 3 to 4 is a good guideline. Of course, you can and should still add more exercises on this day for your other goals, like the muscle up or the front lever. But for the purpose of this video, pull-ups is the main thing. Day 2 is about keeping fatigue in check and targeting the remaining back muscles. Here, start by doing a few sets of pause pull-ups. If you're weakest in the top, train that by doing the top pause. If you have a sticking point somewhere in the middle, do the mid pause. And if you can't point out a weakness, you can do the double pause pull-up. Afterwards, continue into a few sets of either Geronda or ring pull-ups. And keep in mind that these are all compound exercises. So the lats and lower traps are still working, it's just a question of different emphasis. Finally, if you have the energy and want to train your lower back as well, you can finish with some Superman races, for example. As for the rep range here, you can keep it slightly higher, between 6 to 10 reps, to reduce the added weight even more, but still stopping before complete muscle failure. And with body weight, also stopping before complete failure. Overall, the main principle of this system is to focus on pull-ups and adjust with the supporting exercises. This also means that if you're advanced and already have a really good weight capacity, you can have a supporting session whenever you feel fatigue building up, maybe every third or so workout instead. Now, if you want a more structured program that also includes either weighted calisthenics or skills, you can check out my programs in the description. Before ending the video, I also quickly want to mention that if you're looking for some new calisthenics equipment, my sponsors at Carnation have some very high quality options. You can use my code Jacob10 for 10% off. I put the link in the description. That was it for the video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something new and I will see you in the next one.